Welcome to the Deep Six podcast, where we make a generational impact on you and yours. What we do here is explore a 6-point model into your health, your life, and your journey while you're here. So let's dive deep and help you thrive, not just survive. Hello, welcome again to the Deep Six podcast. I have another wonderful guest here with me that I'm excited for to always bring you, hopefully, the best. And I know her very well. She's one of our practitioners, and there's practitioner Lewerenz Ross with us, and I'll do a formal introduction in a second. But why are we here? We're here to explore, kind of how to thrive, not just survive, how this Deep Six, our model of, functionality and physiology in your body can help your journey in life, keep you sound, healthy, and happy. And Lewerenz is excellent at that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let me make this formal. Okay. So Lewerenz Ross, here we go. You ready? Let's see how good I got at this. You've only worked for me for 8 years, so I should know this by heart. Yet I don't know any of this. Probably this was on your interview.
It probably is last time we talked about it.
Yeah. Where do you go to school again? Where'd you go to school? So anyway, Lewerenz Ross, you got your bachelor's at Western Michigan University and your master's in nursing at Oakland University. And you became a certified family practice nurse practitioner. We did a lot of work in Chicago at Northwestern and University of Michigan. Yeah. Correct?
Correct.
See, I didn't even know that part. Yeah, you, besides being a wonderful practitioner and working for us at Longevity Health Institute for 8 years, you're also a mother of 3.
Correct, yeah.
And a wonderful wife.
Thank you.
Okay, I know
my
that.
husband.
I remind him. I'll let him know. For sure. And then you're very active and you like the outdoors, and you're now really enjoying gardening.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just brought in a bunch of vegetables Wednesday.
Yeah. I don't think those are organic. They were way too big.
I mean, I don't spray them.
I know, I'm joking, but they were. I've never seen this cucumber was massive.
Yeah, I'm just a busy mom who doesn't pick her vegetables on time.
It tasted great. It tasted great.
Delicious.
Yeah, but welcome again. Thank you for joining us. And before we kind of get into this, I kind of want to just say thank you because I stole you, didn't I? From a practice originally, right? How did you join us? How did you first come to Longevity Health Institute?
Well, I had just had my second daughter, actually, and I was looking for a new job, and it was kind of by chance. I interviewed. I always call it a happy accident that I ended up here because I interviewed. I shadowed you. You brought me around, and you always are like, I'm good on feeling. I got a good feeling about you. You had me you were like, I'm gonna throw you in and just see somebody. You go in there, no, it worked out great. And for me, it was my new introduction to functional medicine. I didn't know what it was,
right.
So I got to see, wow, there's medicine that's different than what I was taught in school. We don't just make a diagnosis and give a pill. We can get to the root of what's going on with people. And, people were choosing to come to you. They were, excited to be there. And I was like, this is it. I'm in. I'm going to work here.
Yeah, and what's funny is this. And I did say that. I said that I 100%. I could actually tell you what room in the office.
Really?
Yep. Where I literally was like, listen, don't worry about what you know. Okay. I know you're smart. You got a high education. You've gone a long way because if anything, if I give credit to anybody in medicine, it's you guys, nurse practitioners,
thank you.
Nurses in general, but nurse practitioners, you guys, I mean, your trail, what you do in medicine, people don't appreciate that. I don't really believe the hospital work. I
agree. Yeah, it's hard work.
The ICU work, the ER work, the intensive work. You're in there, And my point here is that I knew you had it.
Yeah. And
I'm like, I'll get a good feel about her. We'll see if this is going to click and work. And you were young. I was young too there at the time. And I was literally all right, don't worry about what you know. And I remember you following me around and going, oh, she gets this. She'll get this. This will be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but
we are 8 years later.
Here we are. Yeah. Here we are. You got a lot of kids now.
Yes.
Yeah. Not a lot, but
feels like a lot.
It does. Yeah. Especially you have a 13-year-old, right?
10.
A 10-year-old.
10, 8, and 4.
She acts like 13, I think you said.
Like
Yeah. So anyway, well, thank you again. I always start with a quote. Okay. And yes, this is a quote from Vernon Howard. I love this quote. It actually pertains to me and my life right now, and that's why I want to share it. You have succeeded in a life when all you really want is what you really need. So elaborate on that with me. I mean, I'll tell you what I think or what that means to me.
Well, I was like, all right, what is it that I need? Let me reflect on that. You know what I mean? I was like, you need your health. You know, you need your family. You need good, fulfilling relationships. You know, good food, being surrounded by positive people. And we live in a world that's kind of more about things and stuff and who has more, you know, and doesn't necessarily bring you happiness and fulfillment with all those things and stuff. So, you know, if you can focus on those things that you need, and what I need are those things, you know, you'll thrive. Yeah. So that's
that's
what makes me think.
No, that's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah. And actually, why I love this quote is I'm very type A and driven, I think you know, and I'm a visionary in what we do and everything. So, and I always say, know thyself. You know, it's actually a chapter in my book, but know thyself. Yeah. But anyway, but literally, and so, you know, everybody wants to be successful. I've always wanted to, like, you know, whatever it is ingrained in me, you know, make my dad proud, you know, outbeat my brothers, you know how it is, you know, your friends, you know, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, and I've had somebody sitting in that chair discussing this before, actually one of our other guests, Gina Wickman, but you can feel unfulfilled and unsatisfied, and you focus on all these other things and all this stuff that we accumulate and are distracted by. And at the end of the day, you know, just like it says, you have succeeded in life when all you really want is only what you really need. And meaning I've just recently, all these 30 some years, you're supposed to laugh.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll just say I'm in my 5th decade, but all of these years where, like, I mean, it's nice to have stuff, you know, and it's nice to go do things, and, you know what I mean? But really, this is, you know, I really appreciate my wife. I really appreciate my, you know, kids. Yeah. I really appreciate, you know, my health.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
people take it for granted. That was one of the things when I was thinking about this. I was like, oh my gosh, like, if you don't have your health, you have nothing.
You have nothing.
And
you have nothing.
Don't think about it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's not a business pitch. And I mean that. It's not funny.
I agree.
But sometimes I have to say to people, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I don't need to sell you anything. I'm too busy. Is that you have nothing without your health. Yeah. And literally, I see it, and we see it in the practice all the time, where people are really struggling and suffering, and it affects every part of their life. You know, their home life, their work life, their relationships, their mental health. And you know, it's so important to value that, for sure. So I digress there a bit, but it's nice because I'm going to say this because my wife would probably go, wow, he really recognized this. Yeah. But I just now like T-shirts. That's all I like to wear. Not all these fancy, you know what I mean? Yeah. Babe, I just need T-shirts. Yeah. Go to Target, get me some T-shirts. That's all I need. Just black T-shirts, whatever, white T-shirts. I don't need, you know what I mean? And it's so funny because that was not like me 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you know? Yeah. So anyway.
I like that.
But anyway, so let's dig in, because there's some good stuff here. And here's why there's good stuff. You know this. I said to you, you know, hey, tell me kind of what got you into functional medicine a bit. You know, I kind of said I'm going to ask you about that. But also in that, kind of, what is your experience in it where, yeah, maybe I introduced you and I kind of baited you a bit, trained you. But like, what was it and what kind of resonated with you? And then I guess what do you love about it?
For sure. So part of it is just the fact that, especially at our practice too, but your patients are engaged and they want to be there. And it's so fun and fulfilling to treat people who, you know, want your guidance and want your help, and they're going to listen to you. And so, I don't know, it just brings another dimension to it. I feel like seeing people get well and better, you know, makes you feel good. I like that we innovate a lot and nothing's new and stagnant. We're always doing something different. I was reflecting because I'm like, 8 years, what did we do different now between 8 years ago? And I was laughing and I was just thinking to myself, like, oh gosh, we had like 2 IVs, you know what I mean? And we offer all these different therapies and keeping up with it. And we just have a lot of options in our toolbox, and we're always changing, and it's fun and exciting to, you know, be a part of that and not just kind of do the same old thing, cookie cutter all the time, but always having something new to offer patients.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's fun. I like it.
Yeah. Well, it is fun, isn't it, to help,
It is.
and not just a Band-Aid.
Yeah, exactly. You feel good. People are thanking you, and it's like, oh gosh, I just feel, that's why I love doing it.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. It's so rewarding. And I think it says a lot about, and I'm not just going to say this about Longevity Health Institute.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it about an approach to functional medicine, functional physiology. I mean, what the Deep Six is a model I kind of pseudo created, if you will, organically. It wasn't like I kind of like, wow, but it's how the body works, physiologically. So it's like, hey, let's build this foundation. Let's see how it goes. And you can really, people thrive. People really, really do well, are really happy. They thank you. They give us gifts. They write us letters. They send me on trips. I shouldn't really say that, but I've been sent on a trip before.
I get homemade
that just
kombucha.
came out. Yeah, you get kombucha.
So
Yeah, we get vegetables and food and all these things, So, because we have great patients.
They're the best.
Yeah, but you said something too that was kind of funny, and it does make me think back and reflect. And this is before you, but let's just say 15, 18, something like that, years ago, we started doing IVs, intravenous IVs, vitamins. And I call it in our, our Mickey Mouse times, our infancy of like, I did some training. We are starting to do this. We are doing, maybe 1 or 2 a day. And it was very interesting to reflect back on that, because if somebody said, hey, in 15 years or 18 years or whatever it was roughly, there's going to be med spas on every corner.
You wouldn't think.
That are going to be doing vitamin IVs for hangovers and hydration and energy and whatever. And I would be like, really? I mean, that's not that far away, really? Like, everybody's going to be doing this? So it's kind of funny how that has evolved. Obviously, we've evolved with this into multiple different types of IVs.
Yeah.
And I think 16 IV chairs that are often very full, and, many other things. But it is funny how the evolution of something, how it just organically grows. And I say that by results.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's just results.
Yeah,
I mean,
because it works.
We didn't have some agenda. It was like, I was trained and grateful for these mentors that trained me. And hey, this is what we've been doing. And obviously they're older and wiser, and they kind of, hey, this is what we've been doing for a number of years. And I think you should incorporate in your practice, and this is why. And, and IVs, the big thing about people don't get about IVs, and I don't mean to digress.
Yeah, no, good.
But the big thing is you bypass absorption.
Yeah.
Don't you see that?
Oh, for sure.
No, but I mean, people don't
But they get a
it,
bigger
like,
effect. I mean, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Because I know a lot of my patients initially, like, why would I do an IV? I don't understand. I'll take your vitamins. I'll take some good vitamins, and and by the way, that's got its place, but you absorb 40%, of what you take. If you take something good and you have a good gut,
quality
and quality, exactly. Where intravenously, you're getting 100%. And when we deal with like adrenal stuff and all that, it's pretty profound. So anyway, our big topic of the day, is perimenopause.
Yeah.
That fun time.
It's a great time.
Tell me all about it.
Well, I would say, I joke, but it's not talked about enough, right? We talk about like postpartum and menopause, and it's like, this in-between stage doesn't get its time to shine, right? People don't talk about it. They're not even sure that's what it is. You know what I mean? I don't feel great. I feel off. My cycles are a little more irregular. What's going on? So like, I don't know about you, but what I see most of our patients, they've come after seeing multiple providers. I've been to my PCP and I've been to my OBGYN, et cetera, and I just don't feel like myself, and nobody has listened to me. And that's why our practice is so great, because we allow the time to like let people be heard and listened to, and they feel that. And they and we have tools and options and things, to help them. So it's I don't know, people get good results because of our model, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, and it's so important. It's one of the Deep Six. So the Deep Six is a 6-point model, and one of those pieces of the foundation are hormones. For the listener, I mean, perimenopause is a vague kind of time, if you will, but it's usually 38, 35, right, to before menopause. So, by definition, just, that in that frame time, menopause is, either from a laboratory standpoint, no estrogen, but typically no period for a year.
1 year. Yeah.
And with that becomes all these lovely symptoms, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. The mood stuff, you know what I mean? I'm more irritable. My cycles are more irregular. I'm not sleeping as well, as I used to be. And, sometimes people are like, oh, well, I've been somewhere. They want me to take an SSRI and it's for my mood. And it's like, no. Let's see, why is this happening? Like, let's do a saliva test. Let's, dig deep and figure out exactly what's going on with your hormones. And we can, figure it out. So
I hear that all the time.
Yeah, no.
So,
I agree.
It's where, they have come in and say exactly what you said. Something's off. I don't feel great. But by the way, you still can have, right, regular cycles.
Yeah.
So your cycles are regular.
Yeah.
So you're not in menopause.
Just don't feel like myself.
Just something doesn't feel right. And like you said, there might be multitude of symptoms. Stuff, and I'm sure you can elaborate on this in your experience, but a multitude of like, can't sleep. I have hot flashes.
Yeah.
I'm gaining inappropriate weight. I'm moody, particularly before the menstrual cycle. And it's gotten worse.
Yeah.
In fact, when I have a husband and a wife, because we do treat, right?
Yeah,
we do treat a lot of couples.
A lot of families, yeah.
A lot of families, a lot of couples. And it's so funny when they're in the room together because they're like, yeah, my mood's not the greatest. And then the guy looks over, And then this thing starts. And I always say, I did do this today, actually. I said, you guys worked that out in the car on the way home. Okay, let's just stick with like the hormone game plan here. But, no, but it is though, because that 5-ish days before the menstrual cycle, there's that big drop in progesterone.
Yeah.
And when that is, right, that differential of estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, so there's that estrogen testosterone dominance that just makes you moody or crabby or not feel great or be on edge for no reason.
Yell at your kids, you don't know why.
Yeah. What have you haven't done that, have you?
Never.
No, never. So, but that's that time frame. And I've even heard down to subtle things, which we document. So we objectively get the test to know, and it's not everybody. Everybody doesn't have the same symptom, but like subtle hair loss.
Yeah.
Like I'm losing my hair for no reason. That can be progesterone loss. Anxiety's higher. I've always been a little anxious or whatever, but my anxiety is getting really out of control. I always call you lose. In perimenopause, you lose the feel good.
Yeah.
You think that's a fair statement?
Definitely. I think that's what people will present for sure, most often. Yeah. I just, not as happy, more irritable, definitely. So especially when we look at the saliva test, and we're looking at the ratio, if their progesterone's low, that's kind of what I say, your feel-good hormone, it's low. Let's either replace it. Let's use compounded progesterone. Let's use FemGuard, a supplement that we carry, that has Chase Tree that can help, balance your progesterone. So there's a lot of good options. And so...
that's the thing is there's a lot of options.
Yeah.
So it's not a one size fits all.
Exactly. Whatever you're comfortable with, whatever's appropriate for the patient, that's, obviously, but always individualized, always very patient centered. So that's why, people appreciate it because, okay, well, this doesn't work for me. Let's try this,
Yeah. And I think it's always key to let people know that it's just a test. You can get a test.
Yeah.
Whether it's blood, which is a moment in time.
Yeah.
But if you know where they're at in their cycle, and saliva or technically urine. And this is treating the root issue often, and not an SSRI. So not an anti-anxiety, not an antidepressant, not a benzo, not something to just a Band-Aid to make you feel better, which isn't the actual problem. And that's what I was getting to is I'll say, I'll see somebody and they'll say, I went to my family doctor or I went to, my OB-GYN and they're just like, well, you're fine.
Normal.
That's normal. Yeah, that's normal.
Yeah.
Maybe you have too much stress, and here I can give you, Paxil, or
whatever.
I can give you Zoloft,
exactly.
or I can give you Lexapro, or sometimes, God forbid, but I give you Xanax,
sleeping pills, or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. So this is the root issue. The root issue is, and this is every woman out there.
Yeah.
Everyone. This is going to happen
Yeah. Well, I joke, but I started here having babies, and here I am approaching 40. You know what I mean? So me too, right? You know what I mean? So I'm all of a sudden finding myself, oh, here I am. You know what I mean? In this area that my patients have always been talking to me about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, great. Let me use the tools I have. You know what I mean? I just started FemGuard recently. I'm like, all right, let me start, getting my hormones balanced, see how I feel.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, and thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is because as a practitioner, you're always in a different stage than your patient. That's,
Yeah.
I mean, you're like, so having empathy and kind of connecting in that way to go, okay, I can kind of understand it. I know the science. I know what we should probably do, but I will tell you when it starts to resonate with you, you really listen.
Oh, exactly.
I personally been there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been there with pain before when I've had an injury and pain, and finally I'm like feeling what I've been treating for decades. And I'm like, whoa,
I get it. I can empathize with my patients a little bit more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So what else do you see though with, kind of, it's such a, I mean, obviously progesterone's a big hormone, but what else do you think you see a lot there in that time frame?
A lot of low libido. I would say that's a huge thing, that we look at. We always look at testosterone, obviously, as well. So that affects women all the time. So we check that. That and sleep. I would say brain fog. We didn't really kind of touch on that, but that kind of, especially like towards menopause where women are like, I'm not remembering things as well, or I'm just a little brain fog, or I can't remember where I place things, or, things like that. So it's definitely something we treat and recognize. And, we have tests for, that we can look and see, kind of early what's going on. Can we, make a recommendation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I got to make a joke, this, right? This. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I saw somebody recently and I see it's a husband and a wife.
Okay.
Probably where I'm going with this. So the libido part.
Yeah.
So he's like, Doc, thank you, man. I owe you big time. But that's an important part of a relationship. But the reason there wasn't an issue in their relationship at all. There was, but this perimenopausal time. I'm not saying that all. By the way, he's perfect. In fact, I told him maybe it's your issue.
Right.
But he was just like, no. She's so happy. Her anxiety's down. I hadn't seen her since we did some treatment of balancing some hormones. And he's like, oh my gosh, I have my wife. He said literally, no joking, I have my wife back.
Yeah.
But it's so important. And God, I've said this in other podcasts. It's why I always say, never get a divorce unless you check your hormones.
Yeah.
And that's both men and women.
Yeah. Because
things can be way off and it can make a huge difference. And all of a sudden you magnify what is there, and by the hormone imbalance. But I always find that funny because I get the husbands and the gentlemen always saying, Doc, thanks, man. Thanks. I appreciate you, man. You're a lifesaver.
It's really funny.
But you also though said something that just resonated with me about the testosterone and progesterone and the balance. Don't you think that everybody out there, like if you say libido or you say sex, okay, the dirty word, but everyone's like, oh, testosterone, men but also women. Tell me your thoughts and like your experiences with that, because it is, I think, true, but tell me your thoughts about that.
Well, I would say I joke with my patients, men, very easy. You give them some testosterone, they're good to go.
Creatures.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Women, not the same at all. You know what I mean? Your testosterone can be good, but you're not sleeping, you're stressed, your cortisol's off, whatever it may be, adrenals, and still low libido. So like looking into that, addressing that, for women, you got to look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
So definitely have success with that, but it's harder. You know what I mean? They can have good testosterone or low testosterone. So it just depends.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I find.
Do you feel the same way?
Oh, 100%. But I also find that progesterone itself.
Oh yeah.
Because it's calming, and it's a feel good, and there's less anxiety, libido, is improved in women.
No, definitely.
Ironically, I don't want to get into this because it's so rare, but believe it or not, men need progesterone, and believe it or not, that can help a little bit in some things, preserve hair and.
Yeah, no, I joke, but like.
But it's the balance always. But sometimes, like I'll have a woman come to me, a wife or a girlfriend or whatever, and say, hey, you gave my husband testosterone and he's doing great. Maybe check my levels, or maybe you haven't brought that up to me. And I of course have always looked, so I already know your testosterone's fine. It's not
the only thing. Yeah.
And if we just tweak or augment her progesterone balance and that ratio a little better, everything's great.
It helps, yeah.
Everything's great. And libido's better and everything's great.
You don't get side effects. You know what I mean? So it's the balance, right?
Correct. Yeah. And so, I have a take on this, and I'm probably going to, because I've lived this. But I've lived this in my life. and I'm just a little bit older, not much, but just a little bit. But you might be. I'm not saying you are, but you might be going through this right now. Okay, right?
Okay.
You might be.
I might be.
So, well, I've been around a bit. Okay, so here's my take: is this what in perimenopause? What is it's so horrible in this way when it's undervalued and underappreciated. Okay, and I literally have empathy and really feel for this because I've seen it thousands of times through these years. Is because think about life. You have 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're like my sister, 5 kids, right?
Yeah, I know.
And you have this wonderful life, but it's very busy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of balancing. Often 2 jobs happening, husband and wife, sports for kids, mom and dad still alive. So there's some things kind of maybe with them or just obviously in your life, hopefully, but there's just a lot going on, a lot of plate spinning.
Yeah.
And then at that same time, potentially man and woman, but at the same time, at 35-ish and up, you start getting into this hormonal funk, this natural progesterone loss. Then it gets augmented by stress, right? By the adrenal gland. So the adrenal gland, which is the fight or flight, this, but
No, that's it.
But I mean, this is like, I don't think it's discussed enough.
No, it's not.
Yeah. And then the adrenal gland is so taxed that causes the pituitary and ovary to make even less progesterone. So it's like all this shit going on in life, and it makes your hormones even worse when you're supposed to be doing the best for your family and your spouse and your job and your everything. It's a hard place.
You got to find the balance. Mm-hmm. We're living it. We're busy. 3 kids.
So that did resonate with you.
It resonates.
Yeah. I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there.
It's fun. It's like the best, but I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's hard for everybody, but figuring it out, finding the balance. Yeah.
But a little recognition of it. Right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot out there. So obviously people should be seeking help.
Yeah.
Seeking root cause,
Yeah. And that there's something to do. You know what I mean? There's not just, this is just you aging, right? You know what I mean? There's help.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, other than that, in perimenopause and, in that kind of hormonal, if you will, issue, is there anything that you kind of see that's like an approach that we do, I guess, that is really profound? Like, wow, I've really seen somebody's life, turn around. That comes to mind.
Not hormonally, just anything.
Yeah.
Oh, well, our approach to gut health 1,000 times over.
Yeah.
I mean, if I would say the most impactful thing I feel like we do, besides hormones, but it's gut health. I have people come in with functional bowel issues all the time, IBS, bloating, you know what I mean? And getting to the root cause of that. Like I've had a colonoscopy, I've, done this, and I've had CT scans and nothing's wrong, and just, doing live blood analysis and getting to the root cause and fixing someone's gut. I mean, people come back. I would say that's the most praise I get. Oh my gosh. You know what I mean? I feel I'm not bloating. I feel so much better.
Right.
Like I would say, even though sometimes I think it's the simplest thing we do, it's the most important thing we do, and so.
Is that funny?
I know, but like sometimes I forget to talk about
sometimes.
it, but like I would say, and it's simple, but the most profound thing is what we do with the gut.
Yeah.
Over and over.
And it has because of technology and testing.
Yeah.
We do a live blood analysis, which is so fun, obviously, to do in the office. And if you haven't seen
cool
that,
for patients to see. They
go
like
to our
to
website.
See it. Yeah.
Go to Longevity Health Institute, inc.com, look up, go to our Facebook or whatever, because we have samples on there and you can see your blood and it's live. And then we do a dry blood, and it's obviously the blood never lies.
Yeah.
So I was actually introduced to live blood analysis by a PhD out in San Diego, Dr. Delgado, gosh, I don't even know, 15, 20 years ago.
Okay.
And I was so enamored because at this conference, I'm looking at this big screen with my blood on it, moving around, and cytology that, I might have learned 15 years ago or saw in one lab for one day, but he's explaining to me what's going on in real time and how you can pick things up from the gut and teach people and show them and treat them and et cetera. And then also have them back and see results. Yeah. And it's, it is one of the best things that we have tool-wise.
Yeah.
Easy, cheap.
Yeah.
Real time. So you get right there, get the results right there. But yeah, sorry, I digressed into
but
the technology also of stool testing and food allergy sensitivity testing.
And since we started using Vibrant, there's a lot more we can do with that too.
Which is a laboratory that does a lot of good gut testing and that. So we can really get down to the nitty gritty of what's going on in your gut. And your gut, it's not that complicated if you put the right food in and you heal the lining and you fortify all that billions of microbiome.
Yeah, and I guess we talk about progesterone and stuff like that, but mood, brain-gut connection being huge. Obviously, if we can fix people's gut, we can, you know what I mean, make an impact on their mood as well, too, on that aspect.
Oh, for sure. And how do you heal? You heal by good sleep.
Yeah.
Right? No, seriously.
Seriously.
So you're using progesterone. I mean, it's all this.
De-stress.
That's why this. I mean, it sounds. But that's why, like I said, the 6-point model.
You have to have it because you can't just fix someone's gut and turn around and say whatever. You gotta look at it all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, getting somebody to sleep, which could be just the balance of hormones and progesterone. Now they're regenerating and healing better. Their gut's going to heal better. And it's impressive. But I'm glad you brought that up because it's so simple. And it's the one thing that is, I still think it's much easier in society, like take your omeprazole.
Yeah.
Oh, heartburn's normal. Oh, I just had a guy today that's literally like been on omeprazole for 20 years.
Yeah.
And even his internist, and I'm not knocking, that's the traditional approach.
Yeah.
But his internist's like, oh, I'm on it too. It's fine.
No big deal.
It's no big deal. Really? Well, there's studies that show it's related to AFib. There's studies that are linked to cognitive decline, dementia, osteoporosis, because you malabsorb when you're on that too long. So very easy, put a little effort in, fix the digestive lining. Yeah. You don't need omeprazole. You know what I mean? And I'm not against actually it as a Band-Aid.
Yeah, sometimes we use it. It's not like we don't need to. Right. Yeah.
Or a month. But even the box says 14 days.
Exactly.
And not 20 years, not 14 years. Right? Yeah. So, anyway, but that is, I think, very, very, very good point too, is how the whole thing goes together, really goes together. So I know another thing that's really, how should I say, special to you or, but just means a lot because you've shared this with me before, is about memory and kind of dementia. I think some family history and that you had shared with me before. But tell me your thoughts on that and kind of what you're doing in the practice and what you see. And
yeah, definitely. So my grandpa had Alzheimer's, so it's just one of those things where it's like, all right, like what can we do for myself personally? Like, all right, maybe I should start taking this a little seriously, make sure I'm being as preventative as possible. Genetic testing, we always, look into ApoE. So I actually just did that on myself a couple weeks ago through Vibrant just to kind of see. And luckily I didn't have any variants there.
Good. Very simple test just for the audience. ApoE.
It was a saliva test actually. That Vibrant did saliva mailed to the house. It was super easy.
Yeah. So
and it was actually affordable.
Yeah. Super easy, cheap.
Yeah.
You can do it in blood too, but you can literally see a good, where you fall percentage wise as far as cardiovascular and dementia. And technically there's some link even to Parkinson. So, but the ApoE test. So everybody, I really believe this. Everybody should get it done.
Yeah, exactly. So it's easy to do, but I always tell my patients, if you're starting to see some cognitive decline in hindsight, you're probably like, ooh, maybe this started 5 years ago. And, now I'm seeing that it was happening, but we didn't pick up on it early enough. And, now it's kind of later. So that's where I always tell people if that's the case, WAVI, it's our brain fitness, EEG test that we do in the office, but it's a really good baseline fitness test for brain health. We look at voltage, we look at reaction time, it's got some different trail making tests so we can look at executive functioning, but it's a good baseline test so we can do it every year or however often depending on what's shown, and we can really take a look and see is anything changing? Do we need to intervene sooner? Do we need to look into something else? Do we need to look more into your cardiac health, whatever? So it's just been a good tool, underutilized, but still like we should be using it more. You know what I mean? It's a great option at the office.
It is. It is. Very underutilized, and I say that not because we suggest it, order it, but people always want to feel better.
Yeah.
I do get we get patients, right?
People do it all the time. It's
people get patients.
I wish they did it more because it's so impactful.
Oh yeah. But don't you find that like which is great. We set goals, solve the goals, make them feel better, make them happy, blah, blah, blah. And then, and healthy. And then might come up about their memory, we're like, or if they had brain fog, typically with what we do, whether it's adrenal and hormonal balance or gut health, they're getting better.
Yeah.
But I think what you're stating is super key because you've got to test to get a baseline, which is our WAVI, brain fitness test, which is a really simple test. I mean, for the audience, super simple, kind of like a helmet, like an EEG that you wear. So there's 16 points that go on your head. Forgive me, I think it's 21. Sorry about that. And it's picking up brain voltage and speed. And there's a thing called P300. So it's 300 milliseconds. So we should be reacting 300 milliseconds or faster, because that means brain speed is firing good. And there's a range you should be for your age. And so for the audience, it's basically, this is where you should be. This is a baseline, improved, by the way, by hormones, nutrients, sleep, de-stressing, meditation, cold plunge, lifestyle stuff, all these benefits. So meaning you come in, because I had people do this. I'm a little hungover, doc. I'm not kidding.
A good day to do this.
I'm not kidding. And by the way, we had one person, I won't say names because I think you know who it is, but they literally were nodding off during the test because they usually drink 4 or 5 cups of coffee and they didn't have any coffee. And it's like so it is affected by some things, but if you come in, you get a good baseline and you can follow these every 6 months or a year, or if it's beautiful, you do it every 2 or 3 years or what have you. But I do think it's really important because if we started to look at every condition as chronic disease, cancer, meaning we're all going to get it. Just acknowledge that if you're going to live 90 years old or 100, whatever, but I mean, if you're going to live that far, you're going to probably end up with dementia, Alzheimer's, cancer, cardiovascular disease. So think of it as in the spectrum of a chronic condition. But we don't do that with memory. We get scared of it, but because we don't feel it or it's noticeable or somebody calling us out on it, we just, when I'm older, I'll kind of pay attention and I'll whatever. And you cannot do that. You're behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
You're behind the 8 ball. In fact, I say to patients all the time, especially over the age of 50, I always say is that if your spouse or your friend or your family say something to you like, I guess your memory's been off or something's, I've been telling you this stuff and you're asking me twice or whatever. Not that we can't help, because we can help, and I've got people objectively that we've helped, but you're behind the 8 ball. I mean, we got some hard work to do. So having that baseline of that P300, that WAVI test, I think is lovely to give us a foundation of where somebody is.
And pick up on subtle changes over time. So,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And because the studies are showing that 14 million people will have Alzheimer's by 2050. Oh. It's crazy, the amount of Alzheimer's diagnosis, and it's also, we know cognitive decline is happening earlier and earlier. Have you noticed that in the practice? Reports of it?
No, for sure. I mean, I feel like other than poor sleep, and like hormone stuff, things about memory, I'm forgetting where I'm placing things or, definitely, a concern for, I'm concerned about it. Everyone's concerned. So so it's definitely something people bring up all the time and, so.
Yeah. But there's stuff we can do.
Exactly.
And there's identifying it early. And the other thing out there that I read a study and been saying this to people because it was pretty impactful recently, that you have to remember that the brain lags 7 years behind the heart. So if you are any form of heart patient, what I mean is a stent, or if you had something going on with your heart a bit, or your calcium score, which is a cardiovascular screening test, something's going on with your heart, men or women, understand that your brain is probably lagging only 7 years behind that. And that was a really shocking study that I read, because if you explain that to somebody, and they're 55, say, it's just around the corner before they could be going, hey, my wife says that I'm forgetting stuff. You know what I mean? So, and we have wonderful things we can do, because the number one thing is help the vasculature.
Exactly.
Help the heart. It'll help the blood flow to the brain. It's really simple. So we could have a whole hour.
Yeah,
on that.
no, I.
Yeah, but there is things to do.
Touching
It's
on
not
it,
just
yeah.
it's not just, by the way, because I do want to say this. There is lab testing. There is objective like Wabi testing. There's many things we can do, but we can also do many things to reverse and to improve and to slow down any progression of it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot in our toolbox.
And lifestyle. I mean, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, cold plunging, better sleep, better nutrition, good relationships with people, and being outside and like not being isolated inside. I mean, so there's just some, things we think are simple, but really people don't do as they're getting older.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No. Very solid point too.
Yeah.
As they're getting older, more isolation and a little bit slower and all that. So move your body, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Move your body, get outside, be active, and that. Yeah. And to tie this in before I go to my fun segment of the podcast, my black book segment.
All right.
You know it's coming. it's a segment everybody loves. But
it'll be great.
Yeah. But is that we know that hormones preserve brain function. So we know that estrogen and testosterone, and in men it's obviously more testosterone, and in women it's more estrogen, et cetera. But brain volume is preserved. And when they do SPECT scans, MRI and brain SPECT scans, they see the volume difference in people that have been through hormone replacement and people that have not. Yeah. That is profound to me. I mean, kind of scary when you see the images. You have atrophy of a brain of like a 7-year-old, and then this brain looks like they're still 50.
Yeah.
That says a lot, but that means you got to get on. You got to get 20 years ahead of it.
Yeah. And start hormone replacement.
Yeah. So when you're in perimenopause,
exactly.
or guys that are, most of us are buffoons and don't, their wives drag him in. You know what I mean? Because he's grumpy and, I guess she's doing better.
Well, that's what happens, right? The wife does better. I just had it the other day. Saw this woman doing
100%.
Amazing. She goes, well, my husband's seeing you Friday, so
100%. 100%.
I'll see him tomorrow.
100%. I mean, by the way, that is across the board always what happens.
Which I like. I love it.
I do get my proactive businessmen, kind of visionary CEOs and all that, that are like, they want to be on point all the time. But it is very common that
my husband needs to do this too.
Yeah, but he's got to get in here. And they finally have got him in. And sometimes they sit there and they open up, a little bit about what their problem is, a little bit, or how they feel. But the reality is, what do they say? Yeah, my wife thought I should come in and get checked out. I love it. And by the way, they are right. Their wives are right.
And a couple visits in, they're engaged and they're like, oh yeah. Like, I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah. It's just that bumpy, us men, we're... don't like to open up too much. But so listen, let's get to this part. Okay. This is a fun part, okay? So I do this every time. Okay. So this is my memoir. I got 2 of these. This is my most newest one.
Okay.
I write whatever, interesting things, science things, lifestyle things, who knows? But there's things that kind of hit me. Okay. Quotes, you name it. So you can page through here, pick up what you want.
I can read your writing.
You can.
I've worked with you many a years. Hopefully I can figure it out.
Usually, by the way, I've had people on here and they open it up and they're like,
what?
They get a little bit the gist.
I followed your charts. But hopefully can.
Yeah. I didn't think about that though. I really didn't. I didn't think about that.
Oh, gee. All right, so we're gonna do this one, okay?
Oh, hey, I'm ready.
Man boobs and the future of massive infertility. Super important. We see it all the time, do we not?
Oh gosh, is that just what I wrote down? That quote? I don't even.
Those are just the 2 words you wrote, and I'm telling you, we see it literally all the time.
Well, yeah, and by the way, that's early in my memoir. So the thing is, I probably wrote that a year or 2 ago. But
okay.
No, but I'm just going to tell you. So this is not something new.
Yeah.
Well, you tell me. What does that mean to you? I'm going to tell you exactly why I wrote that. But
well, I would say.
So read it one more time.
Okay, so man boobs and the future of massive infertility. So I would say you're referring to excess estrogens. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, it's from our foods, from our toxic living. But I just see in general that in our practice, like men's estradiol levels being extremely high, and they're not on any hormone replacement or supplements that would, explain it. Or they're struggling with fertility, right? And so I would say saw that 8 years ago, still seeing it now. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So. And why I kind of wrote that is because I think it's not shed light on enough.
Yeah.
Because when something becomes very common, I believe it becomes acceptable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
And I could go into
1,000%.
politics right
Yeah.
now. I could go into lifestyle. I could go into so many things. But just because it's happening every day or it's very common does not mean it's good
or acceptable
or it's right,
or we should continue
or it's
to.
okay, or it's healthy, et cetera, okay? So all you have to do, okay, and I got to be careful how I word this, but I was at a water park a few years ago. And I'll never forget this because my kids are older now. They're teenage and above, and my oldest 27. So I'm not going to water parks much. Okay. I mean, I did for years. I did all that stuff, you know what I mean? And I actually miss them.
Come on with us.
Because I need an invite, know. But the reality of it is so I'm sitting there with my wife and we're, I think I was there with my nephews and nieces and stuff. And I'm like looking there and I'm looking out and I'm like, whoa, babe, it's not just weight, but these boys and young teenagers, and they all have man boobs. I mean, it was like 80%. Yeah. And I'm probably saying something slightly controversial, but I'm telling you, they had a lot of man boobs. And then, by the way, you just look at our practice and all that, okay? And what is that? Well, it is an estrogen effect. I hate to say this, but it's not just excessive weight, but when you have excessive estrogens, and men, we don't make estrogen. We convert it from testosterone. Yeah. So where do we get estrogen from? We either get it from externally, so extrinsically, the world, meaning foods, the environment, plastics, xenoestrogens that we call them chemically. They act like estrogen in us. Or our testosterone through our liver gets converted to estrogen. And I do believe then it's a vicious cycle because fat and fatty liver and all that. Correct. And that's, you're getting more estradiol effects. So do we not see estrogens like they're almost women levels in blood?
It's interesting too, because I don't think a standard practice would ever check that, right?
They never
you know
do.
what I mean? For a male,
ever. I've had patients come to me literally saying that
why wasn't this checked? Yeah.
But they've read about it. They've like, hey, I want they're like, you don't need your estrogen checked. You're a man. Yeah. They literally like insult the patient where they're just looking out for their own, good. Yeah. But it's an epidemic. So my point here and why I wrote Man Boobs and what would I say the future of massive infertility? Well, the reason is because I think we're heading that way. We see it in the practice. There's tons of infertility. There's extreme amounts of low testosterone. Testosterone and estrogen compete for the same receptor. So if estrogen's winning in the body, moody, fat, fluid retaining,
decreased motivation,
grumpy,
low muscle
depressive, exactly, no motivation, etc. And it's just a sad decline that's not being talked about a lot. Okay, and we treat this all the time. We get people out of fatty liver. We reverse that because thank God the liver is very regeneratable. Yeah. Literally totally reversible. We get their weight down, but we get them to clear estrogens. It's that simple. Yeah. And then educate them. Educate them that they're not getting exposed to, environmental estrogens and how they can clean up their diet and that. But it's scary to think of the amount of infertility there is. It's not at a epidemic level, I would say at this point, but we're heading that way, and it was never even heard of.
Definitely more.
Way more, and it's it's a very I think topic that it sounds funny, and I'm kind of the man boobs and
no, but it's real.
It's super real. Yeah. It's super real. And the other thing too is that I've seen this in many patients, and I think it's worth saying is, this mental health stuff that's going on in the world, in society, sometimes all you have to do is balance their hormones.
Oh, definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, there's pressures and there's external psychosocial stuff, social media stuff, all these other things. But I mean, if you get somebody's estrogen in a normal range out of this elevated range, their mood can get drastically better. Drastically better.
At least start with balancing their hormones. You know what I mean? Before you jump to prescriptions and stuff like that too. Right?
Exactly. So well, this has been fun.
I enjoyed it much more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. So and here I was worried about you passing out.
No.
You know what I mean?
I'm
good. But so
no, it was fun. I appreciate you having me on.
So you think you'll stay another 8 years?
I would love to stay another 8 years.
Okay.
Always.
Okay.
Well, I like to say, but you're a great mentor. We have a great working relationship. We always collaborate. You know, patients always ask, but like we talk about cases all the time, and I love it. And that's hard to find. I have friends who are nurse practitioners. They don't feel that supported in their practice, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah,
8 more years, please. 11 years, every
Well, it's a
I
team.
love it.
Well,
It
it's
is.
a team effort.
It is
and
the best.
we have
Yeah.
such a good team. You know, I'm really big, I always say, on the culture.
Yeah.
And just as I met, you know, as long as you keep your hormones balanced,
I'll stick around.
yeah, I'll keep you around.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I mean, because just like when I met you, it's like
Yeah.
that feel good. We connected.
Yeah.
You got it. You like what we do. We're helping people. So it'll be a minimum of another 8 years.
Exactly.
So anyway, well, thank you so much for joining us. You'll be back.
Yeah, thanks
I
for
know
having
that.
me. I
We'll
liked
talk.
it.
We'll deep dive more into brain health.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's so important, and it is, you know, it's going to be such a powerful thing that we're going to need to be helping patients, and we already do, but it's going to be coming, you know, more and more. So this is Dr. Lewerenz. Thank you very much again for joining me here on the Deep Six podcast, where we make a generational impact on you and yours. Seek us out if any of this resonates with you about, you know, hormone health and helping the quality of your life, and so that we can help you to not just survive, but help you thrive.